This is the very part that many people dare not want to take it. Or because of pride, we don't want to take it. We don't want to admit it. But in order to address the issue and to bless our marriage, there's always a lot of cost to be involved. Hosea chapter 3 verse 2 said, "So I bought her for 15 shekels of silver, and about a homer and a lethek of barley." You see, if in our world today, a logical person will say, the wife of Hosea, forget about her. She was unfaithful, she's not good enough, she's obnoxious, she's not lovable anymore. She already walked away, so let her be. And let her just out of our circle of friends even. We don't just want to even to see that person. But here, God is speaking to Hosea, you must redeem her, and you have to pay the money. How many of you are willing to pay the money because of your wife or your husband is in debt and you have to sell your house in order to redeem or to pay all the debt for your husband and wife, and you're still very happy? It's difficult, I know. It's very difficult. But there are causes, there are sacrifices in order for us to pay. Maybe sometimes it's not that much, but sometimes it costs us a little time. Sometimes it costs us a little patience. Sometimes it costs us just another waving of hands or a saying, "Honey, I miss you," or "I love you." Gomer was sold as a slave. The spouse might be trafficked, maybe addicted, maybe stuck in debt. But let us remember about God's love here, as God wants to speak to us and remind all of us, as well as God spoke to the Israelites through Hosea. God demonstrated His love while we were still sinners. God demonstrated His love while we were still sinners. And that will be enough. I don't need to explain anymore. We don't deserve, but God still come and look for us so much that He was willing to pay His own life in order to redeem you and I to come back to become His children. God's love is not cheap. It is purchased by blood. And when you begin to understand that and really meditate on this, and you begin to apply it in your marriage life, then there will be nothing that you could not forgive. It does not mean that my wife and I don't quarrel. It doesn't mean that my wife and I are not upsetting against one another. It doesn't mean that my wife and I does not have the Cold War. We do have all of those things. It doesn't mean that sometimes I don't just want to walk out of the house. I did walk out of the house. But regardless of the situation that we went through, by the love of God, we could be restored. It costs us many things. It could cost us embarrassment and pain, especially in the case of Hosea. If his wife coming back, could you imagine all of the media, all of the neighbors, the critics begin to say this and that? Imagine Hosea is a prophet. And he is the leader of a nation. Could you imagine about the media today when you see any scandal took place? And from the TV, from the news, from the media outlets, you can see on Twitter, Instagram, X, Facebook or whatever, all the news about you. If they talk about the good things about you, you may be very happy. But they will talk about that you are nasty, you are this and this, you are unfaithful, you are this. It makes us crazy. You know that one of the things that I really admire many leaders in this nation is that they could be able to take the criticism. You see, for example, you can see that many presidents, they're already gone. I mean, even though they're already dead, But many generations later, they still continue to talk about them. How much more for the former president who are still alive today? And yet, whenever the issue take place, and this new administration or another person begin to put blame on the president, when you think about that, just imagine the president right now, the former president right now, just sitting there and just listen all the news. This one attack him, another one just say him like this and like that. It could explode his mind, right? But one of the things that I see that as a great leaders, that we need to know how to take all of those things and how to get rid of all of those things in such a way that we would not be bothered anymore. And in the same way, many times in our relationship, in order to protect one another, you and I may face with many embarrassment, many pain, many shame, face value issue, ego and pride, headache and mental battle. And we struggle between should we accept or should we just forgive? Can we still recognize the positive aspect of our spouse in those moments? Even though when you are angry, when people begin to talk bad about your spouse or the one that you once loved, could you still remember how she spent night and day to take care of you when you are sick? Could we still remember how he or she are so faithful when we are in hardship? Could we still see, even though he or she was obnoxious, but cute still? Amen? Maybe rough, but there are some good sides of that person. They treat the in-laws very well, maybe greedy, but really hardworking. Maybe it's a mistake, but because they were being deceived. Talkative, but have a very kind heart. And I think this is very, very important for us to recognize. You see, if you have a spouse who are very able, good in speech, just like my wife, she's very logical and she could argue. And many times you know that we have opposite view. And this is one of the reasons why that our professor, when they heard that we are going to get married, they laughed. They said, is it possible? You know why they said like that? When we was in school, every time the professor want the class to be more active and just get the people away from the sleepiness, immediately they will give the topic for debate. What happened? My wife always on the other side and I'm always on the other side. We're always on the opposite. We never have many things in agreement when we come to arguments. And that's why our professor was very surprised when we said that we're going to get married. Even so, you see that I learned one thing, that when we argue at home, I look at her and I see she's still very cute. You look at the way that she's talking, oh, her mouth just open, but it's cute. Could you recognize that one? Maybe sometimes she just pour out her heart because she has so many pains, she has so many pressure. And do we realize that we need to let her to release her burden, her pressure, and after that everything will be fine. But many times we don't look from that way. When you argue, I'm going to argue, I'm going to fight. So I would like to encourage you today that there would be a lot of costs that you and I need to take. And even just like the cost of life, just like the Lord Jesus paid for us.